Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us on an episode of Inspired. Today I'm here with Jessica. You guys might not know her too well, but today you're going to learn all about her. So she is an artist in-house at Inspired, and she rents a room there, and she's a little new to the industry. Well, not that new. How long? Well, hold on. Let me pause. Let me stop talking. And Jessica, tell them a little bit about yourself, how you got started, why you wanted to do it, how long you've been doing it, and then any specialties that you have.
Okay. So I am actually a registered nurse, and I did bedside nursing for probably a good, 6-7 months, and decided I did not like it. So I started working remotely and did a utilization review where I was reviewing for insurance companies and going through medical records, and it was a really boring job. And that just was not fulfilling for me. So I decided to start looking around at something else where I could help people. So I started training in California and went out there for a couple of years and trained alongside Chanel Lopez in the Beauty Plug and started doing paramedical tattooing of scars and stretch marks and vitiligo. So as far as things that I do, I'm kind of damaging the skin just enough to get it to start reproducing collagen and elastin so that the skin will heal.
Okay, so I got a couple things out of that.
Sure.
So you live in Vegas?
Yes.
Did you live in Vegas when you were doing your apprenticeship?
Yes.
Yes.
I was going back and forth.
Okay, so you're like kind of doing, Adrian. So you're kind of doing like what Adrian did, doing back and forth, but you did it for 2 years?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's really dedicated.
It was a lot of work, but it was one of those where Chanel finally said, "You're good. You don't need me anymore.
I love that.
You don't have to come back."
Awesome. So through your apprenticeship, what did that look like for you? Because, I do apprenticeships too. So did you go out there like a certain time, like a certain number of days a month?
Usually a few days a month where a lot of weekends I had. My cousin and my aunt lived there. So that made it a lot easier as far as some place that I could live. And I was able to stay with them and go through, and we Chanel would just basically have models, different model calls, and I'd have a lot of people that would come in, and I'd get to practice on them and, have her oversee what I was doing.
Which is awesome because she takes then the responsibility. You're like, actually.
Exactly.
But I assume most of it went pretty well because it sounded like she was like there with you.
She was there with me.
What made you choose her as a trainer?
I had actually looked at some trainers here in Vegas, and every time I'd ask them if they had any classes or were doing anything, it was, eventually. And I was like, okay, well, can I get information? And every time I asked, I was told, oh, we'll just keep checking Instagram.
Oh.
So I couldn't get anybody to give me a date locally. And there was somebody in LA that offered to have me go out there, but it was, now I've got to try to find a place to live and stay. So it just worked out to go to San Diego.
What was one of the big pushes for you to go? Because that's a big leap. Like, I think, as we see, right? Like, It's like, okay, you got a 9 to 5, you're working, you're making that paycheck, you're getting that money coming in. And then what is it that really like pushed you into like starting your own business? Because that's really scary for a lot of people.
It's very scary. Going through a divorce, having to, realize I've got me to depend on now. So if I'm going to do something, I want to do something that I can work my schedule around my daughter who's still in high school and be able to be free when she's got wrestling tournaments or different activities. So I figured that was one great reason to do it. And just working for an insurance company remotely, they had layoffs quite often, and I didn't want to be cut. So I figured I need a backup plan.
And more control. I feel like that's
Absolutely.
what I'm hearing from you.
So I wanted something that I was able to, take advantage of the situation. And while I had my daughter, and like I said, she's in high school, so I knew I only had her for a couple more years, and I wanted to be doing something where my time with her was my time with her.
And doesn't it feel, it's like it feels kind of special to have your own thing, to be fighting for your own thing, to create your own thing. Like there's something special to that, I feel like.
There's something very special to it, and it's kind of scary because I'm responsible for a lot of things. But I've kind of gone in with this, with the mindset that, okay, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. And failure's not an option.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because how has the struggle or not struggle? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Has it been a struggle building your own business?
It is.
What keeps you going?
Savings. If I'm being
Fair.
really honest, my savings account. No, I think the biggest thing with there was a lot of issues with trying to figure out how to navigate going through getting the proper licensing, the insurance, the licensing, lots of things that you don't really think about, setting up the LLC, got through all of that. And since then, the biggest problem that I'm seeing is just explaining exactly what it is that I do. Because I'll say, I'm a paramedical tattoo artist, and everybody's like, oh, do you do lashes? Or, I mean, not lashes, eyeliner or eyebrows or lips? And I'm like, no.
You're like, no, that's different.
So they go, oh, so you can draw really well. And I'm like, no, it's not that kind of tattooing either. So just explaining actually what it is that I'm doing, which is using a lot of inkless serum to go over stretch marks, to go over scars, to get the skin injured again so that it starts producing collagen and elastin.
So is that basically like let's break it down. So if somebody is a client and they're reaching out, and because I don't know much about this either, so I'm the perfect person to ask this. So say I reach out and does it matter how old the scar is, or does that not matter? Like I'm 45 and I got bit by a dog when I was 10 years old, and the scar is there, but I can still see it and I don't like the appearance of it. Like, is that a scenario that you could help with?
As long as the scar is healed, I had a lot of people that came in who had brachioplasty. And that was the other thing that I've had people ask, well, what kinds of scars? I mean, I've had brachioplasty scars, people that have gone through gender transitions, self-harm scars, dog bites. I think I've even had a couple that came in that were they had facelifts.
Oh,
so there were scars either behind the ears or up here that were worked on. So as long as the scars are healed, and they're white and flat, we're usually good to go. Sometimes if they're not, it just depends. It's a case-by-case scenario with me actually having to kind of look at it and, all right, well, we could probably do this. It may not be a perfect result, but
giving like realistic expectations,
right, but it'll be an improvement.
Yeah. What about because I know, so you're not putting pigment into the skin. It's just an inkless.
Correct.
It's a serum that you're putting into the skin.
Yes.
So is that good or beneficial for dark scars as well, or no?
If it depends on it, like I said, it can help smooth it out. As far as doing if there's a keloid, those are obviously not something that I'd work on, just because that's something that if the skin was damaged and it's created a keloid, those people normally are prone to getting another keloid. So me damaging the skin is just going to make it worse. But the inkless serum, it's actually designed with doctors in the clinic trying to figure out what works right. I've watched a lot of videos on it as far as having people come through and, they've done the tattooing where they've not just used the dry needle and poured the serum over it. And then they've done it where they've dipped the needle and tattooed the serum. And usually dipping the needle and putting it in that way, you see the results a little bit quicker, but both of them work.
Gotcha. Okay. So I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So your entire journey thus far, so how many years are we sitting at, like including like the apprenticeship and then now experience outside of the apprenticeship? How many years are you looking at?
Probably a good about 2.5.
Okay. So about 2.5 years. In that time, is there something that really stands out to you that was maybe like a story from a person that you really felt was like life-changing for them? Or was there a certain struggle? Maybe touch on both of them. Like, is there a struggle that you like really stands out to you? Like, oh shit, I messed that up, or I could have done this different, like knowing what I know now, like something like that.
Right.
Give some juicy details.
As far as a story, there was one client that I had right before I was finished with my apprenticeship, and she was a really nice lady. And she was so excited because she's like, I've been looking at this and I've wanted to get it done, but, as a model call, I can afford it. And I said, okay, cool. So we're looking at her, and she had a tummy tuck. So it went both sides, and then she also had stretch marks all over, and worked on, everything. And I kept asking her, I said, are you okay? Is this comfortable? She's like, I've got tattoos. You can't feel any of this. This is fine. Mm-hmm. So she was, great. But the funny part to me was they said, okay, just remember there's no sleeping on your stomach tonight, and she's like, oh no, I'm ready. She goes, I'm leaving here. She had a date set that she'd met on. So I don't know what dating app, but she was going out on a date. So obviously it wasn't horribly uncomfortable for her.
Okay, that's funny.
And as far as anything that I can't really think of anything that I messed up, maybe I think the only thing is maybe looking at something and thinking, oh, it's not, it's only going to take 3 treatments, where we got to the 3rd treatment and it was like, okay, you know what? Sorry, we're going to need 1 more.
Yeah.
And at that point, I didn't charge them because that was my mess.
A lot of the times, like I do like a saline lightening. This is not for like scars and stuff to like take the pigment out of the skin, but girl, 12 years in now, I'm like, I can't tell you how many sessions, because so many times I'd be like, oh yeah, maybe 3 or 4, and then I'm like, oh shit, it's not. Like it could be 8. Like you don't know. Like you don't know what level, especially with pigment. It's like you don't know what level that pigment is sitting in the skin. It could take, some of it might lift to like the 3rd or 4th layer, and then some might go to the 6th, and some might fall out. So it's like all these different levels, and there's, everybody's skin is so different, right?
And that's it. And the way everything's retained, and the just what level of like the Fitzpatrick scale they're on as far as their skin tone and their skin color. So you've got to take all of that with what I'm doing into consideration. So
yeah, for sure. And then I think that there's so kind of like last little thought here, but I think that there's like a lot of people out there, our clientele or our listeners' clientele, our listeners are like all over the board, right? You got some newbies, you got some experienced people. So I guess why choose inkless versus like a scar camo? Why, or versus putting pigment into the skin? Okay. Let me break it down a little easier.
Okay, so I do use the camo as well.
Oh, okay.
So I do, for some of the scars afterwards, I'll usually try to use the inkless just to soften and brighten the scar a little bit. So there's 2 inkless serums that I usually will work through. And then a lot of times I may go over afterwards, once that gets to where it looks like it's healing, and use the camo. So
oh, interesting.
The nice part is, I can I've learned to match by looking, okay, we need to mix this with this and we should get the color. But with the NuConceal serums that I have, there's actually a cool little device that they created that you can put it up to the skin and it'll tell you exactly which serums you need to match the skin tone.
Okay. Interesting. So it's a good like little starting point, and then you can
that way I can double check. I can double check that
what you thought, right? Yeah, you're like, okay, I think this, but maybe let's just triple check
just to be sure.
I kind of do that with my brow rulers sometimes. I'm like, I think the brows are straight. Maybe I should just double check
just to be sure.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think? One last thought, actually. Do you think that going out on your own, saying "F it," and starting your own business was worth it?
I think so. I knew that this was not going to happen overnight. And that was, I've kind of come into this from the beginning, because my aunt, when I first went out there, she's like, are you really sure you're a nurse and you're making really good money? And I'm like, but I hate what I do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm like, there's other ways that I can help people. It doesn't have to just be working a bedside nursing job and I'm still helping everybody.
Absolutely.
It's just, so, yeah, there's struggles, but I prepared for it. And
I think a lot of people go into it and they don't prepare. Do you want to tell maybe, or is that too personal? Do you want to say just a couple things that you did to help prepare?
I've made sure that there's money in the bank that I'm able to, because I haven't made a whole lot right now, that I'm able to pull from, and daily usage for rent and utilities and gas and life.
Yeah.
So having some money put away in some savings that I know that that's what the money's there for, and just not being frivolous with my money. And
absolutely,
is that really something that I need, or is that something that I want? So
my Yeti, I bought a little Yeti coffee. I'm like, do I really need this? And I never buy nice things. I'm like, buy. But yeah, don't buy those things, right? Like that's not what we don't want to do. You guys.
So it's just kind of like, okay, no, it's not. That's a want. It's not a need.
Yeah.
So just prioritizing and, just realizing that, okay, I've got to get up this morning and I've got to do this because I have to do this. There's nobody telling me, all right, you have a job. It starts at this time.
Yeah, you have to be a self-motivator for sure.
Yeah. So
awesome.
I'm learning.
Slow and steady. So
a little bit every day.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Inspired. If you guys want to or have questions for Jessica, we're going to drop her information and the details so you can reach out to her if you're interested in booking a service or even just have questions. She's here for you guys. So any last thoughts?
No, I'm excited to see people and answer any questions. I've answered a lot of questions because people are quite confused, and I've got no trouble answering things for people.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next time.
Bye.